What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I am actually recording this from my couch in hopes that Mac, the loudest pit bull in all the land, will not interrupt us today. He has been making it his full-time job to make his mommy look very unprofessional by screaming in his very high-pitched baby sound that he makes in every phone call, video, live stream, podcast, everything that I do. So for the past several weeks, so we are hoping that this will prevent that from happening, and we shall see. So fingers crossed. Just for like a little side note, so Mac had to have another surgery on his knee about 8 weeks ago, and then we found out he had an infection and blah blah blah. So basically, we've been in recovery mode in my house, and he's used to going between my house and Tony's house, and he's also used to going to work with Tony regularly. So he would be in the truck, in and out of accounts, like all over the place. And so like basically mommy is boring in comparison. So he's even more mouthy than normal. He's pretty mouthy on a regular basis anyways, but we are on the uphill side of, or on the end, I should say, of this process. He has no more open wounds or anything like that. He just has 4 weeks left of antibiotics. So hopefully, we can finish that out and we're good to go. We go back to normal life. Thank the Lord, because this dog mama has been stressed out about all of the things. Anyways, so there's a little life update on my animals. Today, I really want to talk to you guys about something that I started doing about 6 months ago, probably at this point, close to it. So I had gotten to a place where I was feeling so, I don't want to say flustered, probably wasn't the word, but I was getting so drained so regularly by my work that I was having a hard time sleeping. I was having a hard time doing much of anything outside of being there for my clients. Meaning like I'd get off the phone with them and I would just feel like dazed out. I would just like sit here on my couch for quite a long time. I remember talking to my coach about it, and she was like, what if you started to try to turn your phone off? And I'm like, what? Of course. Okay. Being somebody who, first of all, lives alone, runs an internet-based business. A lot of her friends don't live near her. Like, that was like a big, what? No. Like, I have people that need me. Like, what are you talking about? Turn my phone off. You're crazy, right? That was just not something that I would do. I had boundaries around my phone, like certain hours of the day. They were not nearly as firm and amazing as they are now, but they were there. And what's funny is that let's never ever forget the feeling of like panic almost, or like weirdness about turning off my phone. And so it took me a while to get to the place that I am now. And I'm going to just share a bit about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, the process that it took, and how just like eye-opening and enlightening that it's been, because I think that a lot of people can take pieces of this and also just incorporate it and maybe give themselves also some downtime. So there's just this around the same time where I was like trying to figure out how to turn it off. And what I mean by that was, there was a time when I first started running my online brand and building my business that it was a priority for me to be creating content 24/7. I was showing you guys my life all day, every day, meaning I was stopping randomly to write a blog post. I was stopping to make a story. Well, that was before stories existed. To record a video, I would just pop my phone up and record a video. Live streams weren't even a thing yet at that point, but like I was always creating content constantly, or making notes about something with content, taking a photo of something for me to write about it later, like all of those things. And that is how I ran my life, and that is how I built this business. Now, at the time, I was also living very much so that like, you gotta work all the hours, blah, bullshit that everybody tries to feed you. Like, you have to work this insane amount of hours 24/7 or like you'll never be successful. And so anyway, it like fit into that mix. Well, somewhere along the lines, I it became a thing to where I was never not on, like, meaning my brain was never not constantly, thinking about business. And like thinking about it and acting on it are two very different things, right? So that was part of the process, was me finding how could I take the time, right? So first I like made the space, which isn't hard for me to do since I make my own schedule. So I made this space for me to have a couple of like afternoons off or something like that, to be unplugged, I would call it, right? And then I would be unplugged, and which was basically means my phone's in the other room and my computer was closed, and I would find myself making lists. Pen and paper lists, but still writing down things and making lists and doing all this other stuff that was technically also still keeping my brain in work mode. And so, a few weeks of doing that, I'm talking to my coach and I'm like, man, I'm still super fucking drained. Like, I don't know what's going on. And she was like, well, tell me about how you're spending your unplugged time. And I tell her, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not really rest, right? Like, it's not really allowing your mind and your body and your spirit and your everything to just be. And for more than like a 10-minute meditation, okay? Like, seriously. I mean, I would be in the car recording notes to myself, have my Bluetooth and like writing posts by speaking them to text. Like, this is just what would happen, right? So, really getting out of that groove took time. It took commitment. It took a dedication to myself. And it took just knowing like I didn't want to feel so burnt out all the time anymore. And I had felt so burnt out. And what was frustrating was, I had done everything else. I had fixed my sleep patterns. I had, fixed my water intake. I had fixed my, food, like all of these things, right? And it's like, I was still very drained, and I just feel like this cannot be the way. Like, I do not want to feel this way anymore. And I was just getting a little even disenchanted at one point or another too, which is kind of why it made me think of that. And like, I just realized that I was never having time for myself for real, like to have fun. Even every vacation you guys have seen me take over the last however many years, I would still be working the entire time, right? Creating content, doing live streams, recording videos, taking pictures, like all of that stuff. Interacting, and it's just like I had to flip a switch in my head of knowing like there's a balance between the two. There's like a braided balance of being able to still produce a shitload of content for you guys, still show up, still share my life, but then also like have time where I am actually for real unplugged and not even like thinking about work, not thinking about making content. And it's still not always easy, even like, and this is obviously like still a work in progress, I think, but it has become my favorite thing to do, but it's also something that I've never broken. Once I started every Wednesday, so here's the new thing. After those like couple days of me thinking, having a day off or like a couple days off or a couple hours off was going to be sufficient for me as far as unplugging, I realized like that's insane. So sometimes I even take Tuesday and Wednesday unplugged. But, so every Wednesday I'm unplugged. I do not work, no exceptions. If somebody's only day they can talk to me is on Wednesday, then it's just not gonna work. We have to figure something else out. Wednesdays are no work days. I do occasionally have appointments, like I'll go to a doctor's appointment or something like that, but even that I try to not have on Wednesdays. I try to have Wednesday to literally be to do whatever the fuck I want. Like, that's it. There's no text messaging involved. There's no interacting with people involved. There's no giving any pieces of myself out to the entire world on Wednesdays. I don't talk to anybody on Wednesdays the majority of the time. And I think that's the biggest piece that we forget. It's like, okay, sure, you can turn your phone off. Sure, you can unplug. Sure, you can just not work. But if you're still giving all these corded connections you have with people, if you're still giving out energy and time and like your thoughts into other people besides yourself in that time frame, like you're not really resting, you're not really resetting, you're not really focused on you, you're not really allowing yourself to become rejuvenated during that time frame, and so that is also why like those couple of hours off just weren't cutting it. And then there's also still, there's still days where I'll have, or weeks where I'll have a Wednesday and I'll, get caught up in a conversation with somebody in text message, and I honestly am so pissed at myself at the end of the day when I'm like, cool, you're still exhausted because you literally like poured yourself into that conversation and into that person when you're supposed to be filling back up this week, right? Like, okay, I do self-care on the regular, and when I talk about that, I don't mean like the fluffy, like, oh my god, I have to take a bath every day. No, like I do take soak in baths. When I soak in baths, it's to ground myself. I soak in baths is a cleansing process, not just like your normal let me clean my body process, but like a cleansing my energy process and like a grounding with salts and oils and things like that type of process. So I mean, when I say self-care, I mean I have a very solid morning routine that involves a lot of quiet time and a lot of self-reflection and doing things that I want to do before I look at my phone and do things on my phone. Same thing with like a bedtime routine. Those are my biggest self-care moments. Like me, it's making sure I'm eating well every day, things like that. Like those are my biggest forms of self-care. And my self-care is keeping my boundaries, that kind of stuff. But during Wednesday, like it's about me and that's it. Like if I choose to spend time with somebody on Wednesdays, which there's been times that I've like driven out to a friend's house and hung out with her and her daughter or something like that, but it's because I wanted that to fill me up, not because it was going to be exhausting and draining. Like so I pick and choose what I'm going to do on every Wednesday based upon solely that. Like, is that going to at all be me giving too much out, yes or no? And so if it's a yes, then I don't do it. And that's become the hard rule, like the hard and fast rule. And it's super not easy to keep that rule, honestly. I still have to catch myself. Like just the other day, a client's like, oh, hey, I'm going to be out of town next week during our call time. And I'm like, okay, so you want to reschedule? And he was like, yeah, what about Wednesday? And I'm like, I don't work on Wednesdays. And Wednesday was the only time he had available. I don't work on Wednesdays. Like honestly, I'll do calls with clients on Saturday mornings before I will do it on a Wednesday. Like end of story. So I think that's one of the biggest pieces, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But it's like you need to keep promises that you make to yourself. Like don't bend, don't break, don't just for a second. Like if you say no screens today, no fucking screens today. If you say you're unplugging, unplug. Like if you say you're gonna go do this thing, go do that fucking thing. Like quit breaking promises to yourself. It's so important. And so while I've been working on establishing a better form of trust between my mind and my body, because for so many years, like there just wasn't a good trust there as far as me always feeling like I was super sick. It's my brain like overcompensated and blah blah blah. It wasn't that feeling like I was super sick. I was super sick. But anyways, there's like a lot of distrust and a lot of trauma there, but that I created for myself. And so I'm working on all of those relationships. And so another relationship is continuing to build my own belief in myself, my own confidence in myself. And what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of your confidence and your belief in yourself gets fucked up when you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't. When you declare you're going to do something to the world and then you don't. Like your body's like, oh, well, we don't do what we say we're going to do. Like your subconscious mind is like, oh, we said it, cool, that means nothing to us because we don't follow through. Like you're basically confirming that every single time you do it and don't follow through. And so with this in particular, I just was like, okay, this is like no fucking exceptions, Jamie. And there had been a couple times where something was due or I was behind and I would call Tony and be like, okay, so what about if I just, tomorrow he goes, no, Jamie. And I'm like, you're right. So I would stay up a little later on Tuesday night than I wanted to, or work a little later on Tuesday night than I wanted to. And so here's the deal. Yeah, sure, it sounds really awesome. That's the thing, like my new clients of mine will look at my calendar because people who are in my coaching group, like I share my planner every week. That's like the thing we do there. But so everybody can see my planner. Like everybody in the group sees how I'm running my days and what's important to me and what my tasks are. Like I don't care. It's not a big secret. But like you'll see every Wednesday unplugged. And I remember one of my new clients going, oh man, I need to do that. That sounds great. Wednesday's unplugged. And at first I was like, yeah, it's not that fucking easy in my head. I didn't say this out loud, but then I was thinking, dude, like it requires a really deep level of discipline to have an entire day off in the middle of the week and still not have to work 10-hour, 12-hour days the rest of the days, still not have to, be busting your ass all day when, Saturday and Sunday, but then also that discipline to actually rest and recoup or do whatever your body or your soul or your heart or whatever wants to do or needs to do on that day off. It takes a lot of discipline, but what it also takes is a lot of foundational work, because here's the deal. Because what I wanted to say is, like, I understand people like, oh yeah, Jamie, that sounds amazing. Or there are people who are saying, oh yeah, Jamie, like, must be fucking nice, right? There's two portions of you probably listening to this right now. One of which, like I said, is like, oh yeah, perfect, I'm going to start taking Wednesdays off too. There's probably, and then the other half is like, yeah, it must be fucking nice. That's not possible in my life, in my business. So, I'm going to talk to both of you. The truth is that you can pick whatever day you want. I picked Wednesday because I don't have coaching calls on Wednesdays. I usually wouldn't, at least. It would be like a makeup day or just like a writing or creation day on Wednesdays. And so that's why I picked it, because it's also in the middle of the week, right? And honestly, my Sundays, I try to be off, but a lot of times I wind up doing a lot of housework and cooking and things on Sundays, so I am still, like, it feels like a lot of work. And so Wednesday is just a really good middle day for me. And then I have Saturday, so that's kind of how my world works. So I picked that day specifically for a reason, and you could pick a day specifically for the same reason. But the thing is that it does require you to step up your fucking game everywhere else. And here's what I mean. If you are not on point and focused the other days of the week, then having a real day off, like, it's going to bury you. Or you won't actually, you'll be maybe declaring and feeling really fucking cool and fancy saying that you're taking the day off, but you're really not. Yeah, I mean, it takes you being on point on the other days. And so does that mean that I'm killing myself Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday? Some weeks, yeah. Some weeks it's a little hectic and there's a lot happening that I have to fit into those days so that I could take Wednesday off. And yes, it would probably be easier in some instances for me to spread it out and utilize Wednesday, but that's not the plan. That's not what I want to do. The purpose of the Wednesday is extremely important to me, right? The purpose of the Wednesday is to fill me back up so I can finish talking to the people and creating the things for the rest of the week. And, also I would catch myself Wednesday, Thursday, I would just be so fucking drained in the past. Like, I couldn't create anyways. It was just not working well for me. So having that little recoup day in the middle works really well. But so what do I mean by you have to be on point on the other days? So basically, like, my Mondays, I know what needs to be accomplished on Monday by the end of the day based upon what the rest of the week looks like, what to do that week, meaning like what content, I've decided to give myself as an assignment for the week, basically. What is my assistant waiting on for me? Things like that. Same thing on Tuesday. Basically, Tuesday, I have to do Tuesday things and make up anything I didn't finish on Monday. So what that does is, there's only a few times that it's going to cost your Tuesday to be longer. There's only a few times you're going to allow that to happen before you make sure you're staying on point on Monday, so then Tuesday doesn't suck, right? Because you're making up everything from Monday on Tuesday so that you can have Wednesday off, right? And so it's kind of honestly made me even more streamlined than I already was, which is saying a lot, honestly. But I'm really pleased with how it's going. But I think the biggest piece of it was learning how to live my life without telling someone else about something that just happened, or taking a photo of something that just happened as documentation, or, making lists and setting reminders and, browsing the internet for whatever the fuck we browse the internet for, right? Googling something the moment I think about it, those types of things, like reverting away from that type of life, which I do not think is a bad thing. Like, I live in a way that I allow the programs in my world to support me. Like, I have the Amazon Echo in my house, and she is my BFF. I don't say her name right now because she'll start talking to us. And then I have, my Google Assistant on my phone, and like, I utilize them frequently. I know a lot of people are freaked out by that. Oh, people are listening to you. Okay, whatever. I don't give a fuck if people are listening to me. Like, they help me not have to stop what I'm doing to make a note or look something up or make a reminder or set a timer or any of that stuff, right? I can just keep doing what I'm doing, talk to my robots, and they do what I need. So I enjoy that a lot. I Google things all day long. Like, why do you think I know so much random shit? Because I think about it, I look it up, I research it. That's what I do. I take photos of things. I will tell you what one thing that made me really fucking uncomfortable was the fact that when something happens, I feel like I need to tell somebody. Well, hello, that's probably not really healthy. Example, the doctor calls about Mac's culture results. I'm driving in the car. It was a Wednesday. I left my phone on that day because I knew they were going to be calling with his results. So I'm driving, listening to the radio because I wouldn't even use my phone for like Spotify or whatever during that time. Like listening to the radio. They call. I answer. They tell me that he has this like really fucking bad infection. Like he's got MRSA, okay? Really not good. I literally whip a Yui like in almost in the middle of the fucking highway to go get him medication before they close because I was running to the store. And there was just this like really big, deep desire inside of me to call and tell someone what the vet had just told me about the dog. Like, why? Why did I need to do that? There was no reason. Like, everything was fine. It's not a big deal. Nothing's changing except he'll get this medication and he's on it for whatever, amount of time. But those are the little things that you start to notice where you're like, ooh, I do not like how dependent on that I am. I do not like that I'm always making lists. I do not like that I cannot enjoy planting something outside without thinking about, oh, I wish I could take a photo of this so I could show my audience. Like, I don't like that that the other thing was coming first. It wasn't the enjoying my life part that was coming first or living my life part that was coming first. It got a little twisted for a while there. And so those are the little things that I think are really important about taking disconnect time and like unplug, turning your phone off, because those little like urges that you don't even think about. And I am an extremely self-aware person to where like I don't have a lot of automatic thoughts and behaviors, like most of which I have really, really just like cut a lot of that stuff out. I just don't. When I'm very proud of that. But like those little weird automatic things that you think to do or you like go to do and you're like, what the fuck? Like why is that urge here? And so it's really telling. Like it really helps you get even more trusting of yourself, even more attuned with yourself, even more connected here. Because the truth is that if all you're doing is spitting out and spitting out and spitting out and spitting out all day long and like sending out all of your energy to everywhere else and worrying about everything all the time, and it is very fucking difficult for you to stay stable. It is very difficult for you to stay hard and solid, standing 2 feet firmly on a foundation if you are not bringing some of that shit back into where it belongs, which is inside of you on a regular basis. If you are not grounding yourself and centering and allowing your space to be with yourself, you are doing yourself a massive disservice, because it is not easy. And that is where anxiety and stress and shame and fear all stem from, is that we have too many cooks in the fucking kitchen and we are putting our hand, we are a cook in too many people's kitchens, the majority of us, right? Like it is just a thing that we do and it just become very normal. And until you stop doing it, you'll start, or when you stop doing it, I should say, you're going to be very shocked. Not only by like the little weird things that you feel so drawn to do that include, phone calls or text messages or let me research this right now or let me document this thing so I can talk about it later. You're like, we need to slow the fuck down. In a world that everyone's telling you that you need to go faster and go faster, the truth is going faster and faster is why you're spinning. Going faster and faster is why most people are on anxiety medication and depression medication and don't even know why anymore. It's just the heart attacks, the stress, all of the things that are happening a lot of that is because we're in this culture of thinking we have to go so fast. If we don't go faster, then we're just not going to ever get anything done. I have to go faster because I have so many things to get done. Listen, I am not saying this to be boastful, because those of you who know me who are listening to this know the last thing, like, I actually don't enjoy, I have a hard time accepting what I'm about to tell you, because I'm so I naturally play down my abilities, and like anything like complimentary, the majority of the time it's something I'm working on. Again, we're all works in progress, right? But so, please know, like, I'm not trying to be boastful, but my productivity level is extreme, and it is out of line almost, honestly, as far as expectations or something that somebody should really be able to accomplish. And that is with me working from 9 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. 4 days a week. Okay? And then utilizing the rest of the time to do my life. But a lot of times after I'm done with my calls and stuff, most days, like, I sit here almost like a fucking zombie because I'm so drained. Or I go outside and, it's not like I'm running around God's green earth doing a whole bunch of other things. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because, like, I am told on a regular basis, like, the level of self-awareness, reprogramming, constant reflection, constant shifting, getting things done, producing content everywhere all the time, managing all the moving pieces and other people's moving pieces, and all of those things, like keeping a clean house, taking care of all the dogs, like doing all of the things, right, that I do. It's extreme. It's a lot. It is awe-inspiring from what I'm told from a lot of people. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because if I can turn it down and allow myself to have a day off, you can too. And I'm still getting as much done as I have before. If anything, it has made me a better business owner. It has made me a better human being. It has made me a better friend. It has made me a better daughter, a better sister, a better girlfriend. Because the truth is that a better coach. Because the truth is that I'm even more, when I'm present with you, I'm fucking present with you. And that went away for a while. Like, I'd be present with you, but it was a very struggled, intentional, like, I had to keep bringing myself to that place. Versus it just being something that I'm full enough and I'm happy enough and grounded enough that it just comes, right? So I hope that you're understanding my drift here. The other thing I said I was going to talk about was the people who say, oh, Jamie, it must be fucking nice, right? Well, guess what? It is fucking nice. That's something I'm working on saying as well, because the truth is like, I'll be damned if I'm going to feel shameful or bad or try to play down what I've created because I don't want to hurt someone else's feelings or make them feel like inferior or upset or whatever. Because the fucking fact of the matter is I could be working 60 hours a week and miserable with, like, looking like I have 2 black eyes constantly, like sick as fuck, and because I've done that, I've lived that way, and there were still so many people that were like, must be fucking nice. And I'm just like, dude, no, I'm done. Like, fuck all of you who want to behave that way. It's ridiculous. Because take a look in the mirror. Why would you have that response to somebody? Because the truth is like, people who live life a certain way, the majority of them, I should say, of course, God, there's always exclusions and exceptions, but the majority of people, they have a design, they do it that way for a reason. Like, they've created it. For me specifically, like, I've designed my life this way. I've told you guys what my life used to be like. I've told you about the depths of the shit that I've been excavating over the past few years specifically, I told you how I used to operate at work and what I used to do and whatever. Like, I've created my life this way. So, it is fucking nice, and I'm not going to feel bad about it because I'm grateful and in awe most of the time of what I get to do for a living and how I do get to spend my time, and that I can take an entire day off on Wednesday. It doesn't feel real to me often. So instead of feeling like, when somebody's sharing things like this with you, instead of feeling that way, I welcome you to think, what is it that I want? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And then start working on it. Start working on creating it. Because hoping and wanting and wishing are one thing, but then starting to create it and doing the work to create it, like only you can do that. And there's a big rule in my life. Anybody who knows me super personally knows, like, one of my number one pet peeves in the world is, like, if you're not doing something about it, you don't get to bitch about it. Like, if you're not willing to do something different or grow or do whatever to try to change your circumstances, like, you don't get to bitch about it to me. Like, I will, like, maybe twice I'll listen to you, and each time, you know, I'll ask if you want advice or if you're looking for help or whatever. But, like, after that, that's that. Like, you're obviously not doing anything to change it. Like, I'm not going to listen to it anymore because that's just, it's silly. Like, it's silliness. Like, you're choosing. What you're not changing, you're choosing. Remember that. What you're not changing, you're choosing. And the thing about why most people aren't changing and they choose to just live the other way anyways and just be pissed about it is because change isn't just flipping a switch. Change takes work. Change takes commitment. It takes being uncomfortable. It takes learning some shit about yourself that you probably don't want to face, you know? It takes a different level of awareness and a different level of work. And it's a thing. Change takes work and action, and choosing to just be pissed off in the other way is easier, right? It's a lot easier. But I digress from that part of the conversation. So basically, it is really nice, you guys, and I would hope that the people listening to this are more on the other side of, like, damn, that's awesome. I want to create that. And here's the deal. I share every fucking day ways that you can create whatever life it is that you want. Start paying better attention. I do live streams a couple times a week on Facebook. We do also put them on Instagram. I have a newsletter where I send out so much fucking knowledge in those every 2 weeks. I have a blog where everything I write on Facebook gets turned into a blog. I write posts on my personal Facebook page almost every single day. Instagram, Snapchat, Instagram stories, here on the podcast. You know, if you wanted to, you could literally go read 10 years worth of blog posts of me sharing ways for people to live life differently on my blog. You could go watch 6 years worth of videos on my YouTube channel. You know, like, I want you to know that you can create your life however you want to. It does take work. It is not easy, and it does not happen overnight, but it is possible. Trust me. And that's what I'm here for. That's why I give all of this information out there freely to people all the time. You know, obviously, sure, yeah, I have paid options. I have, you know, laser coaching where we're talking once a month and I'm helping you, or it's or you can just do one laser coaching session that we, like, strategize, and then you go forth into the world and do stuff with it. I have a coaching group where I teach every Thursday. I go in there and teach to a group of people, and they have access to me in that space. It's super low cost every month for people who want to be plugged in but don't want the commitment of full-time coaching, or they're not ready for it yet financially or whatever. And then I have coaching clients where I'm talking to them once a week. I'm in text with them almost every day. You know, like, sure, there are paid options, and I would love to have you here in my world. If that's what you want to do, I'm here for it. That is my fucking life's mission. But the biggest thing is that I shine. I shine and I lead by example, and that is something I committed to myself a long time ago. So if you want your life to be different, if anything in this conversation made you say, wouldn't it be cool if I could take a day off? Yeah, it would be cool. And it's not impossible, because you get to make the fucking rules. You get to make the rules. So just take advantage of all the content. And it doesn't just have to be mine, but I'm just giving you examples of all of mine. So take advantage of that, because it's in that stuff and in allowing those aha moments and those shifts in perspective and those little tidbits and tools and lessons. All of that stuff adds up. And that's when you start putting into practice in your life. Like, that's when over time, like, you start to be able to design your life the way you want it and live life on your terms. So Somehow that's where we wound up. I started by talking about taking the day off, but this is how things flow. And we only got interrupted once, so that's exciting. I am going to put links to everything that I listed below so you guys can check it out. If you're not subscribed to my newsletter, I super duper do suggest that you do that because it's jam-packed with good info. And it's not, I don't spam you. It's, bi-weekly, basically the week that we're not dropping a podcast episode, a newsletter comes out. So, yeah, as always, if you enjoyed this podcast, I welcome you to please share it with somebody that you think would be able to benefit from it. Also, if you share it on your social channels, which I love, please make sure that you tag us so I can share it too. That makes me very happy. And then if you have not already left a review on iTunes, I would really, really appreciate that. That helps us a lot get this message in front of more people. If you're watching the video on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for being here. Wherever you are, take a deep breath with me. And let all that air out and drop your shoulders. Let that tension out of your body, please. That is my new thing. I'm going to start implementing it in all my live stuff because so many of us don't take deep breaths throughout the day and we walk around with tension and our shoulders all tight. And so we got to start letting that go so we can operate differently and think differently. It's definitely a big deal. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. Go out into the world and do good things. Be kind. And until next time.